What's up, fish tank people? Dustin's Fish Tanks bringing it to you live with some fun action. Just coming off the Gangsta Fish video. I got the shrimp gangster himself, Mr. Rob from Flip Aquatics in the house, man. How's it going, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. It's always good to be here and hang out, and I appreciate it, man. I don't know if it's switching screens, though. That's the only thing. I guess the chat will let us know.
I think it is. I think we're good. So I wanted to get you on here. First and foremost, if you don't know who Rob is, Rob from Flip Aquatics. He helped me celebrate my 100,000 subscriber mark a couple weeks back, and he just hit 20,000 not too long ago, and then quickly hit up to 21. So big ups to you on that, man. That's you're skyrocketed now. So
thank you, man. Yeah, it's been good lately. It's been really good. A lot of good videos.
Cranking out the good videos, man. So yeah, I want to get right into this with the people, though, because we are going to answer some questions afterwards in the comments, so feel free to leave those. But we're going to keep the flow going and keep it live. But Rob with Flip Aquatics, my man, let's just take a step back and let everybody know how you're into shrimp real hardcore. But how did you get into shrimp? I'm in the Nano Tank series right now. How did you get into shrimp just from the jump?
Yeah, well, it is a loaded question. So I guess I got into shrimp. I had a bunch of fish going on in a lot of different tanks. And my neighbor came over to me and he's like, hey, I got an alligator. I want to feed a ghost shrimp. And he's like, if you can get ghost shrimp breeding, like, I'll buy as many as you can breed. And I'm like, all right, like, I can probably make that happen. And most ghost shrimp are brackish water, so you really can't breed them in fresh water. So I learned that. I'm like, okay, what else can I breed? So I'm like, cherry shrimp. Like, I'll set up a 10-gallon tank, try to breed some cherry shrimp. And I would say after like a month of having cherry shrimp, I started looking at that tank more than I looked at any other tank. Wow. So I'm like, these aren't food, these are pets. And so I really fell in love with them. I ended up killing them all, which was terrible. And so then it became a challenge for me.
How did you kill them?
So I was doing like these monster water changes. I had well water. I had no idea what was in my water. I was running an undergravel filter in the tank, and I had sand. So like the sand was in the undergravel filter. It wasn't pulling any beneficial anything out of there. Wow. And so I really had no filtration going, was doing these crazy water changes with a lot of like different heavy metals in the water. And so then I was like, man, like I'm really going to conquer this thing. So I tried something else, and
real quick, I did kill a ridiculous amount of shrimp one time using potassium in a 40 tall, just so we've all been there, and everybody watching this has probably killed some shrimp too. So anyway, to keep going, I'm going to figure this out. What was next?
Yeah, so what was next? I got a 55-gallon tank, and I'm like, I'm really going to go hardcore in this. So like I got my Eco Complete, my fluorite, like, did the whole deal for the plants, got a T5 light, and I got some really cool shrimp in there, and everything was going great. I was doing my water changes, the best way that I knew how. They were breeding. And then I read somewhere that RO water is perfect for shrimp. And so I'm like, well, I want to do what is perfect. And so then I switched over to RO water. But what I didn't know is you remineralize it before you put it in the tank. And I was remineralizing as I put it in the tank. And so my shrimp were getting these huge fluctuations. Needless to say, I killed them all again and learned the lesson for the second time. And so then from there, I decided, like, I'm going to do all the research, conquer this thing, and I really moved forward and set up some tanks and really learned how to do it. And so that's where I started really making YouTube videos on the whole shrimp thing, and then it just kind of took off from there.
There's a guy out in Denver. Actually, he moved to Florida recently. He's got a ribbon that says like "I kill fish" or something, and it's like a ribbon. And he's like proud because it's true. We've all killed some stuff. So all right. So you started making YouTube videos when, man?
I want to say I looked back the other day, and it was actually like 2013. I always thought I started earlier than that. So it's been about 4 or 5 years since I've been doing it. And truthfully, like, if you go back, and I still have my first video ever up, which is a terrible video, but it's the 55-gallon that I talk about that I killed all those shrimp in. That's my first video. And I just kind of started as like a thing to look back, a couple years later and see where I came from. And I just really enjoyed it. I was watching you at the time. I was watching a couple other people. And it was just kind of a fun little community. And I just really, really enjoyed it. And then the whole shrimp thing kind of blew up. And that's where I was like, I realized that there was a need for these shrimp. And so then it all kind of just, escalated into a business, many years later. And there's a lot of stories in between, but it kind of just all blew up from there.
Well, let's talk about that because that's a beautiful segue. So where are you now, man? I mean, I have seen your facility, but like break it down. You know, I got this many gallons. I got a warehouse. Like, just give us like a high level overview of kind of what you got going on as far as the Flip Aquatics enterprise.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So right now I have a 4,000 square foot warehouse that we were breeding shrimp for the longest time. That was like our ultimate goal, is to breed shrimp in the United States, provide healthy shrimp, free of disease, all these things. And then I quickly realized, and Dustin knows this too, because we've been friends for a long time. So he's been giving me some good feedback along the whole journey.
I'm not taking all of the credit here.
No. But I could not breed enough shrimp to fill the demand. And so I kind of moved into importing, and I wanted to change the stereotype that imported shrimp are bad shrimp. And so we started importing. So we have right now 2 fish rooms with about a combined total, I want to save about 350 to 400 tanks. We have probably close to 10,000 gallons of water. Yeah, so we have a lot going on.
Me to get them in. Like, how is an import for you?
So there is nothing better than being a hobbyist and getting in, 16,000 of what you love. And I'm sure you know this too. Like when you order, what'd you get? 14 boxes of these African plants in. Like, you just don't do that every day. And being a hobbyist who loves growing plants, or like me, a guy that loves breeding shrimp, like to see that is exciting. But what you don't see is the amount of work that goes into every single one of these imports. So I get that, and I'm sure you get that. So it's just crazy. Like I can't wait for Wednesday because I'm really going to enjoy it. But I can wait for the 14-hour drive, the 8 hours of work once I get back. So by the time it's all said and done, it will be a 26-hour day. And that's just the beginning of it. You got to constantly maintain it. And so much goes into it. And that's the work that a lot of you all don't see, but we try to share it.
And that's so true because, these are live creatures. It's not like you can just like let them sit, I mean, and you're dealing with shrimp, but I'm dealing with plants, and it's like you got to get put away. And you can't just like dump them in. You got to, and then it's, check the waters, check the water on 50 boxes. So that's the part that like I'm in the floating stage because everything is in now, and I actually swept the floor of the greenhouse and it looks good. So I'm in the like, I can't wait to go back out there and look at it. But there is that like grueling, and you actually did like back to something crazy with me one time where it was like you like got an import in and then went to Reefapalooza or vice versa, or like had one coming. I don't know. Something was stupid. And I've done it too. Like we got an Africa import in one time, and then I had Reefapalooza like the next day. I don't know if it was something along the lines where that's soul crushing. But
it was brutal. Yeah, it was. You had your live event in Lexington, and I got my import in the day before the live event. I didn't sleep all night. I maybe slept like 3 hours. I drove 6.5 hours to get to you. The live event, it was just like the craziest, probably 72 hours of my life. But it was so worth it. Like I don't regret it at all.
It's hardcore. Okay, so let's talk about this import thing though, because you bring in shrimp, and originally your goal was to have them come in as you wanted to be American bred shrimp only. And then you shifted it up to importing, but you don't just churn them and burn them. So talk about, I mean, what's up with the 30-day quarantine, man?
Yeah, so we implemented a 30-day quarantine, and this is what we found.
It sounds like you're in jail. It sounds like a
I mean, that's really what it is, because
a Shawshank Redemption type. Like, what is this? It's a.
Oh yeah, 30 days, and we do not waver from that. And the reason being is we found that shrimp with parasites and different things, usually after about 30 days, you start to see, those parasites come out, or those bacterial infections, and we can treat them throughout that full 30 days. And usually that's like, we call it the red zone. The first 30 days of any shrimp, getting them in is the red zone. And that's when they're going through the stress of importing. They're going to try to molt for the first time sometime during that 30 days, and that's usually when they die. And most resellers, and this is why I had the hardest time when I started this hobby, most resellers will get shrimp in and instantly try to turn them and make their money back, sell them as quick as they can, really cheap prices. And not only are you getting parasites, not only are you getting diseases and bacterial infections, but you're getting shrimp that aren't healthy. And after a month, they're going to die for you. And I've been there. I've ordered shrimp and suffered through that for the longest time. And so that's why we're doing a 30-day quarantine, which is like unheard of when it comes to live animals, because I'm spending, 10, 20 grand on an import order, and then you get it in and you sit on it for 30 days and you're just watching them die. And it's just, yeah, it's crazy. So it's been a fun journey, and it's been a lot of lessons learned, put it that way.
Yeah, and I don't think people really see the downside when you bring in thousands of shrimp, but nobody talks about that bag of 100 that just poof, didn't make it, or the ones that there's always those, like, you quarantine them for a reason, because all of a sudden that tank is dead. And I get this with plants too, where it's like, oh, everything else is fine, what happened here, but shrimp especially too. So very cool, man. Very cool. Well, I want to give you some props and talk about some of your street cred, because I understand I see the Dennerla tank behind you. You are going to be a judge in the Dennerla Scapers, the Dennerla Das Shrimpkring Christopher Lukaup and the Aquatic Experience come to a USA. You're going to be a judge at the shrimp contest this year at the Aquatic Experience, right?
Yeah, so that's something that's like a huge honor. So Chris Lukaup, which is, well, he says a different way, and I'm sure you could say really good, like Lukaup, like something crazy. Yeah. So Chris is a guy that travels all around the world, and everyone calls him the Shrimp King. He has his own shrimp food line. He's supported by Dennerla, and they have their, like, just a crazy good line. They're a really well-rounded company. And so they started sponsoring the international shrimp competition in the United States. And so last year was the first ever year, and we really connected with Chris and Teresa and a lot of other people that are really invested into it, JBJ, Dennerla. And so this year they asked me to be one of the judges, which is just a huge honor. They only picked 3 from the United States and 2 international judges. And so I'm really excited to start being a part of something that is just growing the hobby. And
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I get called out in the comments for talking over people all the time.
It happens, man. It happens. You get excited and you have to say it.
My kid they call it volcano mouth in elementary school, when your mouth, you just have to talk. I have it. My other question was, do you know who the 2 other judges are? And then my follow-up question to that is, can you compete as a judge?
Yes. So to answer first, I do know who the other judges are. One is Andrew Wayne. I believe that's his name. It's so hard to remember last names, but one is Andrew Wayne, and the other one is Robert Jackson. He placed as the best Royal Blues. I think he won the whole competition last year. And then the 2 other ones are Nicholas, which is an international judge, and then Monica. And both of them are really well-renowned shrimp breeders, and they've created some amazing shrimp. And so they'll be all the judges. And then, can you compete as a judge? And so the way that we do it as a judging group is 2 judges judge 3 sections of the competition. And there's like a total of, say 20 different categories. And I'm only going to judge, 3 or 4 of the categories. So I can submit shrimp in different categories that I'm not judging, but I cannot judge my own shrimp. And so that's the way they kind of work it around.
Okay. What do you think of Lucas Bretz's shrimp?
Yeah, so Lucas Bretz, if you guys aren't familiar with Lucas Bretz, it's LR
I'll link
Bretz.
the video up.
Yeah, and you just did a fish room tour on his, and he's the mad scientist. He's so funny. People call him Shrimp Jesus because he's got like this long beard and huge hair, and so I always like pointing that out because I think it's so funny.
It's a great name.
Oh yeah, Lucas Bretz. He submitted red cherries or cherry reds or fire reds or whatever you want to call them. And he won the best fire reds in the United States. And so Lucas Bretz does things like so different from everyone else, but it works. And he's breeding them and he's doing well with them. And so I love Lucas Bretz. I think he's hilarious.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm excited to be knowing all you guys going into that contest. Obviously, AE is going to be a good time. So that said, brother, we're in the Nano Tank series, right? Keeping it small. I'm pumped. I've got my little nano conglomerates over here, and I'm bringing more tanks to the house than the wife would probably like. What are your top 3? Like, let's just say, shrimp small tanks, but what are your top 3 like small, just starting out nano shrimp?
So nano is a good topic to bring up for shrimp because they're so small. So Nano, you can go so many different ways, and I have a lot to say about Nano, but let me focus on the 3 types of shrimp. So
give us a high-level overview of what you have to say about nanos, because I mean that's your Jones, man, and then we can break the top 3 down.
Yeah, so nano tanks are awesome. It's a huge trend right now to get these small, tiny little tanks. The smaller, the better, and the more cool it is, the more smaller you go. And so Dustin's in a great series talking about nano tanks. And so I always say this with shrimp, they're small. You can fit a ton of them in a small space. Nano tanks, I'm sure, Dustin, you know this too, is the smaller the tank, the harder it is to take care of. You got constant evaporation, you got minerals going up and down and parameters changing. And so with shrimp, I always say, as long as you are going to put in the work, you can keep shrimp in a 2.5 gallon. You can keep them in a 1 gallon. But you have to know in a small tank, things can go crazy, pretty quickly. Now, a 10-gallon tank is perfect. A shrimp can live in a 10-gallon tank, 20-gallon tank, 15, whatever it is. A shrimp will do great in it. And the shrimp that will do the best, at least that I think, is number 1, the hardiest shrimp that I've ever kept, the mono. A mono shrimp are literally bulletproof. Like, Dustin has seen it. Like, you drop on the floor, they start running away. Like, the things, they do not die. They want to live, and they'll crawl out of your net back into the tank. Like, it's just crazy. And they have survived some crazy, crazy things. And so a mono's number 1 nano shrimp out there. The second one would be cherry shrimp.
Before you go to that, well, give me an example, because I got an example of how hardy Amanos are.
So Amanos, like, for example, when I import them, they come in bags of 400 to 800 with like the tiniest amount of water. And where we get some shrimp in and we'll get, 10% death in the bag as soon as we get them in. Amanos, shove 800 into a tiny bit of water, not one died. Literally not one died. Like, they're ridiculously hardy. Let's hear your story, though. I'm excited to hear it.
A lot of good stories involve Josh.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm in Colorado, and he's doing a water change on the shrimp, and he goes, man, I can't find any of that GH builder, but I found this other powder. Can I use this? And it was potassium, and I was, no, like, do not add that to the shrimp tank. So he didn't add that. But the fun part was when he went and we moved some, and then we had like 3 that we couldn't catch, and we were just like, well, whatever, we'll just hope for the best. And we did like a full drain to like the bottom gravel, and then refill, no dechlor. We just wanted to kill anything that might have been in that tank. 5 Amano shrimp just hanging out, swimming around, just didn't, like fully chlorinated water, probably temperature different. They just did not care. It was amazing. I was just like, wow, these are fantastic. So
no way. So they completely lived through it. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Amano shrimp, if you kill Amano shrimp, then do not get any other shrimp, because it's only going to get worse from there.
And then what are some advice to not kill shrimp?
So the biggest advice I could give to not kill shrimp is consistency. Whatever you're doing, be consistent at it. And if you're consistent, you're going to know, like, you can keep shrimp or you can't keep shrimp. So we talked about the first 30 days. The most important thing you can do in the first 30 days of having shrimp is be 100% consistent, because shrimp are going to die in the first 30 days. They're living animals. They're stressed out. They've gone through shipping, all this other things. You're going to lose a couple. It's just the nature of the beast. And so keep it consistent for the first 30 days. Don't do huge water changes, just the bare minimum. Don't feed a lot. If they're not eating, take a couple days off. Consistency is so, so important. And the other main advice I can give is patience. So just be patient. Like, so many people, I know I was this way. When I would recognize a problem, like, oh, 2 shrimp just died, like something's terribly off, I would be like, oh my gosh, I need to fix this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to look up why 2 shrimp would die. Be patient. Most of the time, shrimp can just die just because they're going to die. You never know how old they are. You never know anything about them. So they could just die. And so be patient, be consistent. And then if things are consistently going bad, then you're doing something wrong. And that's where you can, talk to me. You can email me. You can talk to Dustin. He knows quite a bit. And so you can contact the so-called experts in whatever you're working with. And this goes for fish. This goes for plants, everything. Consistency and patience are so important in this hobby.
Okay. One last question. We're going to wrap up. People can find out more about you. What's the hottest shrimp you got going right now, bro?
Oh, so that is a loaded question. So there's a couple things right now, and by hottest, I'm gonna go with the thing that, like, when I see it, I get excited. And so we have dancing mint shrimp, and we talked about the judges in the shrimp competition. And one of the judges is Monica. She is a world-renowned breeder. So I actually got dancing mint shrimp from her. It's a line she's been working on for something like 6+ years. And she finally got this. And what it is it's a funky looking shrimp. And on the top of its head, it has a silhouette of a man like dancing like crazy. And so it's so cool. And the coolest thing about, well, not the coolest thing about this shrimp, this is probably the least coolest thing about the shrimp, is they're $400 a piece. And so it's just a crazy, like, high-end market. But when you see them, like, they are the most beautiful shrimp you'll ever see. And on top of that, I have another shrimp coming in, which I literally haven't told anyone about because I'm not 100% sure they're coming in. But I will reveal it on here just for Dustin and just for you all, is we are getting in these. There's not even a name for them, but they're like a metallic purple. And Chris Lucup, the Shrimp King, just got some in, and he was taking pictures of them. And so it's a really hot topic right now on the internet, and we're getting a pair of them. We're either going to, raffle them off, or we're going to try breeding them, something like that. But they're an absolute astounding shrimp, and those ones retail for anywhere between $600 to $800, depending on the grade of them. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I love getting in unique stuff, and I love being excited. And when you see shrimp like that, there's nothing you can do but get excited. So that's what we got hot right now that is going on over here at Flip Aquatics.
That's hotter than I thought, man. That's actually it's actually a better answer than what I was expecting to get out of you. So I'm super pumped that you're getting to that level of stuff, man. Because I tell you, I think the shrimp breeding, it's one of those things where I always like to talk about my creepy old man days where I could like have a tank of this and a tank of that. With shrimp, I mean that's the jam. You have your whole set of these blues, and you're breeding these. I'm breeding these because I got some. You say a dancing guy on its head for $400. So
oh yeah, dancing man.
I hope it's a chick instead of a dude, but either way,
that would be better.
Yeah, I think you breed that out, man. So cool. All right, man. Well, how can people find out more about you, bro?
So you can find out more about me. You can go straight to my website. It's www.flipaquatics.com. You can see all the shrimp that we have on there, all the care information, anything you would need to know about breeding shrimp. Other than that, a great way to find us is on YouTube. You can find us at Flip Aquatics. We're getting ready to drop the Lup Diesel. That was the name that I started with, which is a whole nother story. But find us on YouTube at Flip Aquatics, and you can get a hold of me through email or anything like that through the website. So feel free to reach out to me. And again, Dustin, thank you so much for having me on, man. It was definitely a great time.
Dude, it's my pleasure, brother. We kept the dude talk to a minimum. Everybody tank on. Drop us a comment on what you want to know. Rob and I will be hopping in the comments and answering. Tell me your questions. Tank on, everybody. Later.